really strict about that all the art present is original. So that means no buy sell, so it's not like a flea market, all the work has to be made by the artists themselves.
Are the tents supplied in the fee to the artists?
You wanna talk about that?
So, the artists have a booth fee for their participation fee, and then most artists have their own tents, and they bring their own tents and they'll set up their own tents, and then artists also do have the opportunity to rent a tent through us. If they don't own their own tent, then they can rent it through us, and then we'll set it up for them and take it down for them.
We don't own tents, so we use a third party.
Sure.
So there's just a third party.
So that's an additional cost for the
Yes.
artists. And when you rent them, what are you renting for to the artists?
It varies a little bit, but it's a pass-through cost. It's about $230, and that includes the tent to be set up, the water barrels to secure the tent, sidewalls so that you can keep your artwork up overnight and just wrap walls around your booth. So it's the full package.
So $230 for a tent, and then what's the artist booth,
400, can you say
Fee for the
400?
space.
fee for their space, yeah, just the entry fee.
It's around there. We haven't exactly predetermined.
Right, but you must have a ballpark number.
Yeah,
that you-
I'd say around there.
Around
300?
Around 400 probably. That's pretty much in the range of, for a 2-day show, what we see out there, you know, with most other shows. Some shows go up really high. I just read an article, with some shows having booth fees of like $1,200, so we don't, with a new show, or any of our shows, you know, we just don't think that we need to do that.
This was the same show that was in Whitefish Bay last year.
We did a show in Whitefish Bay last year, so this would be a different show.
And was there a reason why you guys are not looking to go back? Or are you looking to do the
We
same
are.
show in Whitefish Bay?
We are
So there would be, yes.
And that show, they wanna have that show the weekend before the DNC. And,
Yeah, this
so that would, what are the dates of that one?
Like July 10th and 11th. What that weekend? I can look it up.
Yeah, so they, last year, were at a show in Whitefish Bay, and on Silver Spring. That area was different geographically, the way the street was set up. They had the center median, so that was back to back down the middle. And yeah, they were very happy with the show and want to continue it. And we worked directly with a bid there.
Back to back in the middle for the median would obviously create better access to the businesses off the sidewalks. And if tents had been backed up to the sidewalks. I assume that from your diagram that's where the tents are, is they're backed right up to the back of the tents are against the sidewalk, or the curb,
In
I'm sorry,
this-
the curb,
the
which is the
street-
sidewalk.
The street is so wide here that they actually would come 5 feet forward
Okay,
on each side and still leave
okay.
it. The fire department wanted a 15-foot fire lane.
15 foot, so that's what we got
So-
as far as the center.
So
Okay.
the challenge there with the layout is depending on what the local fire department wants. If a local fire department wants to be able to bring the fire truck down the middle of the street, then this is the layout that works. When they're back to back, what happens is if you have a 15-foot lane, but you go back to back, now you have 2 7.5-foot lanes. And so
Oh.
it just depends on
Yeah.
what the fire department
Or how wide
wants.
the streets are too.
Mhm.
I know Highland Park's pretty wide.
Yeah, so we've done shows both ways, and it's
Mhm.
really police and fire that kind of directs the layout. So here it was our understanding that they wanted to be able to drive down the middle of the street, so that's why we set it up this way. But with the breaks between booths, and you see more breaks on the west side than the east, because on the east there's not as much retail, it's really very little. So there's still breaks, and but there are more breaks on the west side, so that you always would be able to look into a business.
So how many of those approximately 76 booths, are lost to food and liquor vendors or whatever?
So we don't know yet, that's a great
Right.
question. We would hope that Gene would have a booth in front of his space, we'd hope that Nat would have a space in front of his space. And we're not really food heavy at our events, but we find that the public likes to have like a fresh squeezed lemonade booth, cause you know, so people get thirsty on site. Roasted nuts are always popular, kind of the grab and go types of foods.
Mhm.
We're
How
not.
many did Bay do? Baker's Bay? How many food or
I
other
think we
vendors?
have 3.
They only had 3 down Silver Spring? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of the norm for us.
Yeah, but like Moxie did really well, in fact, they were thrilled with the event, if you know that restaurant. And they're looking to actually now go onto the street and make a bigger seating area for, the restaurant this year during the show.
Sure, yeah, make more money.
So, you think that there is enough demand to have a show in July, potentially in August, and then, I don't know when the third ward show is, but, 3 shows in the, you know, North Shore area?
Yeah, so, but,
In 6 weeks. Mm-hmm.
so what we find, and this is, using Chicago as Chicago suburban area as a guide, people like going to their own show. There's a loyalty to something in your own downtown.
Mhm.
And these events are scaled to the smaller side. They're not like huge, blocks and blocks. And people like going, they like running into their neighbors and their friends on the street, and it stimulates the local businesses. And sometimes, we'll market here, for example, to the entire Milwaukee area. We want the local people to come, but we want new people to come into the town too, and see the businesses, and, maybe have an aha moment that, there's this beautiful boulangerie, maybe, that's a good place for us to think of going, in the future. So not only getting people to the festival in the downtown on that particular weekend, but the idea that it'll stimulate business later on in the year. So I know some of your questions have to do, I would imagine, with a 2-day street closure. So, Lindsay,
Yeah.
let me turn over to you right now. Can you
Sure.
kind of talk about the timelining of this?
Sure.
And what page is that on?
This is page 8, and I do have a couple extra comments.
Does anyone need one?
So what we put together here is just an example of what I think we can call it an ideal timeline would look like. We're very flexible as far as when we work with police and fire. If there's things that need to be adjusted and things along those lines, we can always accommodate changes, but here would be like the ideal timeline. On the Thursday prior to the event, our team, we'll have some advanced team here, and they will post and take care of no parking signs. We put those up 24 hours before street closure so that the public is well aware that the road will be closing. And we'll put them up, pretty much in every parking spot so that so it's really obvious to the public and they have a good warning.
And there's an example on page 5 of what those look like.
Mhm.
And we do them on Tyvek, so even if it rains, they don't fall apart.
Friday, that would be our setup day. We'll have our advanced team here, and they'll kind of be in the area just getting some barricades staged and things that we absolutely need at 5 o'clock for street closure. So they'll be here just doing some preliminary work. At 5 o'clock is ideally 5 p.m. when we close the streets. And we've come up with 5 o'clock because it gives a lot of the businesses then in the area that full day uninterrupted with festival setup. So that's why 5 o'clock's been the time that we close the streets for majority of our festivals. 5 o'clock we'll strategically close the roads. There's a detailed plan in here about how we close the roads so that it all makes sense and it's not, nothing that we do is chaotic. It's all very streamlined.
So we close the inbound traffic first and still let the outbound traffic, leave. So it's not just pulling the barricades right across.
Jessica, we do have another item to
Yeah.
talk about,
Yeah.
which I'd like to have some time to discuss.
Yeah, we have maybe probably like 10-15 minutes for that meeting, for that, item. Yeah, so I think we have about 5 more minutes.
Okay, I can do this real quick. So Friday night, we set up essentially from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll have overnight security come on site once we're done setting up, once our team's done. They'll be the eyes and the ears of the street overnight. We'll be back on site at 6 a.m. on Saturday. We'll continue setting up the festival. The festival's open to the public from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those hours can adjust a little bit. Essentially, it's 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're open to the public. everything's going and happening. Our team will pretty much wrap up around 5-6 o'clock-ish. Overnight security comes back to watch the area, and then we reopen to the public at 10 o'clock a.m. on Sunday. We'll be open till 5, and it typically takes us a few hours to load out. So we're typically, the street typically looks like it's back normal by like 9-10 o'clock on Sunday, even a little bit before that sometimes.
So people have asked us, like, what about doing a one-day show? So nationally, there are more than 10,000 art shows nationally every year. And when you look at having local and regional artists, and for the time it takes to put it together, one-day shows just are not the norm. Two-day shows are the norm, so we didn't make it up, we just kind of follow that, we've always followed that model. And it also helps give some weather insurance in case one of the days isn't a great weather day, so that helps as well. So that's why the two-day show, just a quick answer. Heather?
I don't know if you guys are aware, but we've had a lot of road closures for a lot of different events within the community. This year we actually had the road closed in 2 days on a weekend in the fall. And so one of the things I'm the big liaison, but is really creating some sort of timeline and calendar for the entire summer or the entire desirable months of the year to be outside. To really understand, you know, if we're closing it for 2 days in August, well then what does that mean for the feast and for the camp packer party and, you know, so I think I feel like I'm not opposed to the idea, but I need to understand the global picture of what's happening with all of the other events that are causing the street closure, because, you know, there is the traffic piece, but there's also bus piece, there's also, you know, grocery store that people need to get to, so I just wanna be able to understand and make a, you know, a little bit more of an educated decision. I understand the need for a 2-day event, but in connection with everything else that we have going on in our community, that for me, that's an important piece of the discussion.
And that's why we didn't look to close by the grocery store, that's why this particular
Right.
block seemed like it would have.
But, I mean, the bus route's gonna have to be
True.
moved and,
True.
so.
Absolutely right.
And it actually starts at, the road closure starts at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. It's not just the 2 days, right? That's just
Road closure would be at 5 o'clock.
at 5 o'clock, okay, but,
5 p.m.
oh, it says barricades delivered, okay, well, 5 o'clock, okay, so it's still an extra night, yeah.
So do you ever look not on the main street and off the main, not closing our main thoroughfare, like high school parking, some other location that's maybe
So
provides a surface?
we have tried festivals in parking lots and in school lots, and what happens is, there's not the economic stimulation to the businesses.
Mm.
We're taking people away from the businesses, and in this day and age, we haven't come across a community that is in favor of that. Everybody is wanting to know, how can we bring more people to our downtown business district?
So
We
what
have-
you're,
we
what you're
have-
saying is your philosophy is that your events that you put on are economic boosters because people come for the event, not for the art, really.
People come for the event.
If they came for the art, they'd come to a parking lot in town too.
And we could do that, but there's the carryover when people are in a downtown and they're experiencing the area on foot.
Sure.
They have a different experience, it's a slower pace that they're absorbing the
Mhm.
local area. And so just driving past, people are really looking and noticing the businesses. And for that reason, in communities all over the country,
Mhm.
they find these types of events that are art events, so they're culturally enriching, free admission, to be a great way to kind of marry the two together, having
Okay.
people come for a cultural event, but then there's the restaurants typically do very well over these event weekends.
And do you have any numbers as far as the average profit per artist when you have like 76 booths or artists showing on all your different shows around that you've been doing for 30-some years? Do you have any numbers as far as what the artists who are really paying $47,000 or whatever it's gonna be for you guys to do this? Do you have, what's the incentive besides trade show or art fair circle people who know how to hawk their wares at shows like this on a sidewalk, what's the profit level that we're gonna be able to still accommodate local and emerging artists who, if you're asking them to shell out $700 for this weekend and their time?
So, we don't ask for sales, we feel that's private.
No, but that's the only reason the artist would be there.
Right, so
For
so we don't, so
$700.
you asked if we have sales figures, so
Right.
we
Yeah.
don't have sales figures.
Oh, you don't track that?
No.
Okay.
No, because we don't take a percentage,
Mhm.
and it's like asking someone how much money you make, it's kind of private, we always feel like we respect the artists and we don't ask them.
Most shows actually do that, but they do it on a, no-name survey, so that they have statistics.
So, the artists we know that there are artists who do really well, and, there are artists who, well, we mentor artists all the time. In fact, on December 7th, in Highland Park, we're doing Art Fest boot camp, where it's called Art Fest 101, where we talk to artists about how to show their work, how to sell their work, how to price their work. And we'd be more than happy to do one of those free seminars here as well. There are a lot of people who are making art at home, who are interested in knowing how can they show and sell their work, and so that's what our seminars do. So we call them Art Fest boot camps.
Yeah, I just wanna let you know that I consider, I mean, I'm sort of the Grinch about road closures in town. I feel like roads are for transportation and for, I'm just not, I mean, I'm not opposed to a street festival every once in a while, but 2 days in a row, I'm definitely really dubious about that. If you're doing a show in July in Whitefish Bay, that these Milwaukee suburbs are different from Chicago suburbs, there's not as much income. I doubt there are that many serious art buyers, to spare between us and Whitefish Bay. So just the road closure issue itself, and frankly,